Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Donald Clark. It's good to be back. I'm one of the acupuncturists here at CY Healing Arts, CY Fertility. I hope you're all well. Well, it's the middle of February, and it has been a very easy winter in upstate New York. And actually, I think it's been a very easy winter in the United States as far as winter goes. We have very little snow. We've had some rain, but it hasn't been winter. So it's kind of been that in between fall, spring, winter environment, and that's hard on the body, right? Because you get used to one season, and then a day later it's another season, and then a day later it's even another season. So I hope everyone's been keeping their immune systems high and strong, and keeping their brains healthy and their minds healthy. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about excess and deficiency, and what that means in Chinese medicine, and some of the best and easiest ways to treat that. And it's a real thing. All disease or conditions stem from either too much of something or not enough of another thing. And so finding that balance, that center harmony, is so crucial in longevity and well-being and fertility and just overall health. And it's very easy to step out of that. A lot when Chinese medical texts were written, they were written a long, long time ago. And there were parts of the world that were still underdeveloped, and parts of the world that were very developed. And so some of these conditions, for instance, excess, really have flourished in the developed world because, we have access to so much food, and alcohol, and drugs, and all kinds of stuff. Basically, whatever we want, we have access to it, and our access to it. And in underdeveloped parts of the world, they don't have it as much. So they don't have the conditions and the diseases that we have. They have other conditions and diseases, and those stem from deficiencies. And so, wherever you are, there's some kind of an obstacle you need to get over, or circumnavigate, or work with wherever you are in the world, be it excess or deficiency. So we'll talk a little bit about excess first. So when you think of an excess condition, obviously the first thing that comes to you is a lot of, or and the amount of being excessive. And that's true. So when you're talking about excessive conditions, you're talking about or diseases or pathogens or illnesses. You're talking about fullness, heat, hard, painful. So like if you have a lump and you touch it, it hurts. Very loud, very big personality. Those are all excessive or excess conditions or excess types. And so, when dealing with the body and conditions and of that nature, what you want to do is you want to relieve the excess, right? So if you have arthritis and you have nodules, or you have fibroids, or PCOS, and you have stagnation of blood, so where it just doesn't flow, and it stagnates, and you get masses that form because there's so much excess, and so the idea is to treat that directly, and whatever some of the easiest ways to treat excessive conditions are take away whatever it is that's causing the problem. So for instance, in the Western world, we have so much sugar, and our rates of cancer and diabetes are so much higher than the eastern part of the world. But I can also say, as the eastern part of the world develops a little bit more, we're seeing those statistical numbers start to even out. Because now, it doesn't matter where you are. If you're becoming developed, you have access to everything you could ever want, and that's happening globally at this point. And so, the number one treatment for an excessive condition is to take away what's causing the excess. So, if you're eating lots of really, really sweet or really, really, really greasy foods, you're drinking way too much alcohol, or you're smoking cigarettes, or you're doing drugs, and you're just living the life of excess, it's going to catch up to you. And you're going to have, conditions arise, be it stagnation or heat or dryness, and all those are going to lead into bigger problems that eventually, they have a diagnosis, a Western diagnosis in the end. And so, you want to live moderate, right? I'm sure everyone has heard that, one of the keys to life is moderation. And that's so true. If you go through life, appreciating the small things and the time that goes into making foods and from seed to table, the amount of energy and effort that goes into that is incredible. And if you're conscious of that and you're paying attention to that, then you're usually using those products a little bit more sparingly because you know what's involved in it, as compared to just plowing through stuff and just constantly, adding stuff to your system or to your body with no regard. Eventually, you'll have a problem, be it diabetes or something along that nature, or cardiac disease, or gynecological problems. So you don't want that, and so slowing down, removing that stuff from your system is going to make the biggest impact of all. And so keep that in mind. Live simply. Don't eat a lot. If there was a time to treat excess, it would be during the winter when we aren't active, right? And we're just sitting around inside all the time. And so it's a good time to not eat so much, right? It's a good time to fast. If you know anything about fasting or just a lower caloric intake, an undernourished body is going to live a lot longer than an overnourished body, and that's just science. That's true, and that goes right into horticulture as well. You get plants that if you fertilize them too much, they grow really fast and they produce a lot, but then they die, or they're susceptible to disease because they're growing so fast, and their stems become weak and they break and they fall down. If you undernourish a plant but give it what it needs to grow, usually it lives longer and it's stronger and it's still producing, and so undernourished lives a lot longer than overnourished. So less caloric intake, time and time again, is the best thing for you. Now, when you talk about deficiency, which is seen in other parts of the world, what do you think of? You think of malnutrition, right? You think of conditions in which you are absent. What is deficiency? So it's cold, it's small, it's quiet, it's withdrawn, right? It's weak, it's fragile. Those are all signs and symptoms of deficiency. And those two have their problems. So much of the time I see blood deficiency, and that's where the blood just isn't as strong as it could be. And when you have deficiency in blood, you have a deficiency in the ability to produce a viable, you can still produce viable follicles, but a viable embryo. You want to produce that. You want it as strong as possible. But if you don't have the underlying basis of a strong blood supply, and I don't mean the amount of blood, I mean the energetic strength of the blood itself. If you don't have that, it's hard for the body to pull from the roots and produce that. So I see deficiency all the time, and it's very common in fertility, and it's just very common to have people are deficient as a female. As women lose a lot of blood, and so that's one thing I'm quite versed in treating. It's an easy fix, really. It doesn't take a lot. Deficiency, the best way to treat deficiencies or fix deficiencies is you have to add into what you're missing. And so, in Chinese medicine, it could be, an energetic deficiency, a qi deficiency. It could be a blood deficiency. It could be, a yang deficiency, yang being full, excess, yin being, quiet, deficient. And so you just add in. And, so if for instance, if you're qi deficient and you're withdrawn and, you don't have a lot of energy, you can build qi. You can build it. You can add it to your body. And we've talked about that in the past by doing some qi building exercises, like meditation and Tai Chi and yoga. Those are all qi or yin building exercises, and those are going to build your energy. And for severe deficiencies, one of the best things that you can treat it with is animal products, meats, because they're so dense and they're so full of energy and so full of yang energy. And so eating a little bit of meat can go a long ways in treating your deficiencies. And you see it a lot in vegetarianisms. If you don't eat if you don't eat meat, and that's your choice, and but you don't care for yourself properly, you'll become blood deficient. Or if you have prolonged menstruation and or you've had traumatic surgery, you had surgery, you lost a lot of blood, you have to build all that back. And one of the best and easiest ways to do that is by eating fats and meats, high iron meats. And they're so dense and they're so packed full of energy. It's gonna take care of that deficiency so much quicker. And there's other things you can take and other herbs you could take that that will help with all that. We won't get into that right now. But also, we cannot forget the value of acupuncture and Chinese medicine in all of this. And acupuncture is great in stimulating, yang and stimulating yang and stimulating yin, or taking away, and it's very, very effective. And that's where acupuncture and Chinese medicine really shines, because we're able to move the energy in the body that otherwise it wouldn't have moved. It might just stay there. It might just be stagnant because the body doesn't have the energy to move it, or it has created blockages because there's too much energy. So that's where we come in, and we can actually find those blockages or determine where, in what pathways those blockages might be, or what deficiencies need to be treated, and we treat it. And so it's very effective. And that's something you can do within a couple of visits. It's not something that's a long, drawn out treatment plan by any means. But the number one way to treat excess or deficiency is to treat it yourself, and to treat it, by your lifestyle and the choices that you make. If you're going to smoke cigarettes and drink a lot and eat, horrible food, you're going to have problems. You're just going to have problems. Your life expectancy is going down, and the quality of life that you will have is also going down. And if that's what you want, then go. That's what you want. That's awesome. Good, free America, free world, right? But if you're trying to live longer and invest in your health and take care of yourself and feel better, then you look for those simple little things that are gonna cause problems in the future, and trying to avoid that is so crucial. It's a journey. Life is a journey, and in all honesty, we don't have a lot of time on the planet. you might think we do, and for some people, it might feel like an eternity. But I can honestly say, as you get a little older, you can kind of see, the next 20, 30, 40 years. And, you can live your life like it's the last day, live it like you want it to be. And don't waste it. Now, it's okay to go out and, go to a buffet and have, a dinner, right? And it's okay to celebrate a birthday party. And it's okay to have junk food from time to time. But the trick and the key to all of this is moderation. And it goes back to, moderation is the key to living. And, if you can moderate and find that harmony and invest in your health into the future, you're going to live a happier, healthier life. And I always tell people, do you want your last, year to be, you know, healthy and happy, or do you want it to be, miserable and not healthy and happy? Because, depending on what kind of conditions you get, we're all going to have problems in the end, right? Except for my grandmother, she's going to be 100 this year, and she's got her teeth and drives her car, and she's doing great. So, you know, some people just have longevity in their bones. So, invest in yourselves, invest in your future, invest in your family. And that goes, especially if you're family planning, if you're planning a family and you're going to have little ones, you got to be around, you got to be there for them. So, try to do that. Excess and deficiency. Live a very moderate life. Don't fall to one side or the other. And if you do, come back. And don't fall victim to the ills of society. It's easy to do. I can go into the grocery store right now and get 16 different high fructose sugar cereals, or all of that. And so be careful out there in the world. People love you. Thank you.